Ellen, welcome to Landscape Photography World. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Awesome to have you with me. I'm interested in why people are landscape photographers. So why is Ellen van der Doel a landscape photographer? What is it about landscape photography that makes your heart race?
I don't know if I can describe it. It's a feeling inside. It's a passion. It's about losing time and losing track of time and being in the nature and enjoying the most beautiful moments. An inside drive. In the past, when I was younger, I did gymnastics, very fanatic.
Okay.
And that was my deep passion. I didn't bother to go out early or to have to travel for it. And that passion came back in landscape photography. I was a bit sad to lose the passion in sport because you can do gymnastics forever.
True.
And yeah, somehow I find it back in landscape photography. And I didn't think that would be the case. I would think it would be another sport or something. And I always love to be creative. I do photography since 2009, more seriously. That's when a DSLR came into the house.
Yep.
But I also always had a little point and shoot analog camera as a kid. There were always cameras in our family. So photography was also always kind of thing.
Mm.
And for me, creativity was also a thing. I loved to draw as a kid. I loved to make things. When I was playing with the Lego, I didn't play, I did build. So I love to create. So I think that's always has been a part of me. And when the DSLR came, I started to do sports photography, gymnastics, because I was into gymnastics.
Yep.
And we needed better photos for the club. Where was it? So that triggered my interest more than I normally did with the camera.
Mm-hmm.
And I was also interested in why are all these buttons here? And it should get better. Why don't I understand it? So that's the moment I did do a basic course for beginners. I did get it as a gift from my husband.
No.
So if he complains about doing too much photography, I was always said, yeah, you gave me the course. But that triggered something. I did go to a photo club. I did follow several courses. I thought I shoot everything. Everything is fun to shoot when you start photography.
Yeah.
But the main dream was gymnastics. I did photography at big tournaments, like world championships. And I loved that. But when I did that longer, I did get a little bit bored. And a sports photographer might say, why are you getting bored doing that? But for me, it was more of the same. I did love the sport, but I had those big guys for my lens. I had all the jumps and leaps. I had that.
Yeah.
Slowly I changed my interest to landscape photography. And I think it also because of that photo, because you are triggered to do anything.
Usually a photo club, you have multiple genres. There's portrait, there's action, there's sports, there's landscapes, there's architecture, et cetera, and you get exposed to all of those things, which is one of the beauties of being part of a photo club.
Yes, and I think that's where I did get to know landscape photography, and it's also I think because of the environment where I live. I live on an island. Okay, not a real island anymore because we have bridges, but a lot of wide landscapes. The sea is not very far away. You have a half-hour drive to the sea, and water is 5 to 10 minutes. So I did go up with landscapes and nature and water around. And I think that combined and gave me the passion.
Okay, interesting. I'm always interested in how people think about where the art started. So as you said, you were doing photography for your gymnastics and the gymnastic club you were a part of, and then landscapes and the club environment. Where did you start to say, oh, this is just beyond, here's a pretty picture, here's a nice scene that I've captured, here's what I'm actually doing with intent to create something as opposed to just recording something that you're seeing yourself?
Yes, I don't think there's a specific moment to that. I think it's it was a process,
Okay.
but I was triggered when I did see landscape photos in a magazine or on websites and get the feeling, how do they do it?
Yeah.
Those are photos. And I was like, amazing. And when I did my first photos that give me a little bit of that feeling, I might have shoot also a photo that is worthwhile to go on my back screen of my computer or on the screen of my phone. Yeah, that's accomplishment, that feeling that you have something. I think that's the same feeling when I was a kid and I made a painting I was happy with and I showed it to my family. And that feeling when a photo was good enough and leveled a little with the photos, I look at that was the moment where I think, okay, this is a thing. I made a landscape photo. It was not just about clicking and the process of learning, but there's more to it.
I think a lot of photographers never stop learning. I certainly don't know anywhere near enough about technique in the field or in processing. I'm always looking for new things and learning. Is that your experience as well? You started out with the basic course and that kind of gave you the exposure triangle and how to control your camera a little bit better than when you're sitting there going, what are all these buttons for? And now it's going beyond that. It's now, how do I do something creatively and how do I do something different? And somebody over here has got an interesting image that I like. How do I do that? How did they do that? And I think that that's something that every photographer should probably feel. And most of the photographers that I've spoken to on the podcast, some of them into their 70s and early 80s, saying they're still learning. What's that process been like for you?
It's so true. And if I go back and think about how I was like in sports, I love to push it. I love to get to the next level. It's not always for me about winning because I was not always winning the competitions, but I love to get better. I love to learn tricks. That was in sports the case. I didn't do football, but I love to learn the football tricks just for myself. I love to learn. I love to get better at something.
Sure.
And I see that in my photography. I love to get better. I love to learn. And when I see something, I knew my first Milky Way photo. And there's a time you see a Milky Way photo in a magazine and you think, I want to do that. So I did try it. We have a lot of light pollution, so it's a little bit difficult. And my photo had so much noise. And I saw the photos in the magazine. Why don't they have noise? That was before the time of AI noise reduction.
Yeah.
How do they do it? And that triggers me. That gets me learning and dive deeper into the stuff and Google and read forums back in the time. Yeah, to learn and to get better. Why to get better? Because I like it. I didn't have a goal to achieve something, and I don't have really a goal at the moment. I just love it, and I love to get better. That's the fun of the game, to learn something and to see your growth.
I think that growth and I guess the motivation to improve is something that drives just about every photographer I know. I'm always interested in that kind of motivation. Is it competition? Is it a need to be as good as you can be, whether or not you're the best photographer in your country, your city, whatever? That might not be where you want to be, but you need to be as good as you can be. And I think that is always an interesting inspiration. Are there any other things driving your photographic passion? What are the things other than just wanting to improve?
Yeah, just what I said when I started being out in nature. And I realized because of doing landscape photography this fanatic, I am out at a sunrise and see a foggy environment. I am out at a spectacular sunset. And the moment when you are standing like you are not getting the sunset, you're doing grocery shopping and you see that sky, you see it happen.
Sitting in a car park.
You get it inside, you get the feeling, oh, damn. And the people around you, they're staring at you. Why are you looking at the sky? What is it? What is happening? And I'm thinking, don't you see it? It is just beautiful. And when I'm standing over here at the sea, we don't have spectacular wildlife, just seals or something. And people ask me, what are you doing? What do you see? And I was always joking, I see a whale. There's no whales. But people always ask, what do we see? And I think, just see where you are. See your environment. And that's also, a big part what photography brings you. Normally, I wouldn't see that moment because you're not there.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't maybe travel to some places because, why would I do that? Because normally you travel for a holiday and it's, different inspiration. And the things you see and do.
Photography is quite different to traveling for a holiday. You can combine the two.
Yeah, you can combine. Yeah, definitely. But that's also gives an extra push and an extra trigger.
Definitely. Yeah.
The moments you live in that moment is special.
Can you remember the first landscape photo that you took that you said, this is it, this is what I really want to do for the rest of my life? This is something special?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't think I have one photo that really triggers it. I know I had a photo. I was only triggered by the long exposure photography.
Okay.
And that's maybe because I'm living at sea and water that did get my interest. So I bought back in the days my first big stopper. I was a simple screw-on filter, not the best. But the first time I made a photo with a long, I saw the one soft, and that was a moment I think, wow, I managed. It was definitely not a good photo, and composition-wise there was room for improvement. But I realized that moment I can do that, and that's the same with that Milky Way photo. Oh, but there's a start of it.
Yeah, you're understanding the technique.
Yes, I think that is getting grip on the technique and understanding why you use that technique. And in my workshops, I did some workshops this weekend for beginners this time.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, I was not from the math. Math was not my favorite at school, but you can learn it. Also, if you're not are into technique, you can learn it if you do it and do it and do it over again.
Yeah.
And if it clicks, then the party is starting.
That's right. What is it that influences the landscapes you choose to photograph? Is it local stuff? Is it that desire to travel? What are the things that say, okay, I want to go here?
Yes, for sure. I love to travel, but I always love to come home. My favorite place is still to go to the beach, where I've been hundreds of times. But if I stand there with my tripod, I feel like I'm at home. This a peaceful place, and I know it. I know that place, and because you've been there so often, you have to be creative to make something new, and that's also a learning process. But that still is my trigger, my local patch, the beach. And the funny thing is, when I'm traveling and I'm at a beach somewhere else or at water, that also feels a little bit like home, because that's the thing I love.
Yeah.
So I still get inspiration from my own environment, and also because from the photographers I'm friends with. So we also inspire each other, and we're also asking each other, come, let's go. We see a good sunset. Who's in? That also helps you to get going.
Yeah, definitely. Do you set yourself creative challenges in your photography? Do you go out of your way and say, okay, well, like Milky Way and, long exposure photography, do you deliberately set yourself a challenge and say, okay, I'm going to try this technique, or I'm going to do something different this week because it's not because the other photography you're doing is getting stale, but you just constantly wanting to drive and change and learn?
Yes, and I think it's not really one kind of challenge. I think it's also part of the process. But for example, when I watch vlogs or listen to podcasts and I hear new techniques, I think I have to remember that. I have to try that out in the field and see if there's something for me. And I think my process from the last years is more and more combining photos. In that case, I think I grew in Photoshop.
Yep.
Because there's so much possible, too much almost. And by learning that, you can combine your focus text with the panorama, with the HDR, with So it gets more difficult in the field. I'm collecting pieces of a puzzle in the field, and that's the process of the last years, because knowing more about the editing, knowing more about the technical possibilities, that are the challenges in the field, to use that and to know, I see this in with my eyes. How can I get this into a photo? Because I won't get it in one photo.
Yeah.
That's not possible. So how do I manage to get it? And that's a fun process, because there is so much more possible if you know more techniques. It's getting a little bit more complicated also, but I like that challenge.
I think the complexity in itself, as you said, presents creative challenges, but it's also a way of challenging yourself to change what you're doing. And it might change something stylistically, or it might change something in your technique or in your workflow. And whether it's in the field or in the studio where you're editing, I think looking at that complexity and looking at those things can help you sort of drive and strive for something that's different and more creative and a little bit unique. Speaking about unique photography, have you ever got a shot that you said, okay, well, I don't think anyone's ever done this before? Have you ever had something like that in your career?
I don't know. If I think being unique is difficult nowadays.
Oh, absolutely.
Because so many photographers, social media, and I hear a lot of photographers want to be unique. It sounds maybe a bit strange, but I don't have that drive to be unique.
Interesting.
My drive is really to do something I like. And if that's going to a place that's been photographed 1,000 times, so be it. I go out because I like it. It's my photo. And if it scores on social media, I don't care. It's about me. And I sometimes hear photographers and they say, no, I'm not going to that place because that's been photographed so much times. And I think give yourself boundaries. Why? And on the other hand, it gives you a challenge to do something else.
Yep.
But I want to enjoy my photography. I want to do it because I like it. And maybe if somebody looks at my stream at Instagram, they say, hey, that's a unique shot. I don't know. I'm not that busy with what others do. And I want to do my own thing because that's what I like to do. Yeah. So maybe different to other photographers and their vision, but that's how I'm into it.
Yeah. Got it. I enjoy the challenge of going somewhere that has been shot to death, and living in Sydney Opera House, Sydney Harbour Bridge, really hard to take a unique shot, but I like to try. I don't think I've succeeded yet, but I like to try.
And that's what I do at my local patch. It's the beach. And if somebody comes there and says, yeah, what is here? It's just beach. Yes, but there's always something new with the weather and the new wrinkle in the beach. And
the beach is one of the best places to be because it's constantly changing. And one of my favourite beaches here, you go even the same week, 3 days in that week, and there'll be rocks covered with sand. The rocks will have the sand washed away. You know, that channel of rocks there will be filled because the tide is slightly higher than it was 3 days ago, and all of those changes, and then the weather's going to be different. All of those things just make it a place of endless possibilities for me anyway.
Yeah, and it also gives, I love to be at sea because it gives you some peace. It's wide and hearing the sea, so it's a combination of it. And I have since half a year now 10mm wide angle.
Okay,
for full frame.
That is very wide.
It's a Laowa lens, so it's not a fisheye. It's a real 10mm. Mm-hmm. It's fun to play. I can rediscover places I've been to before, and it's a new world. And of course, you can do something with panorama, but shooting it with 10mm is something different. Absolutely. So it's also fun to have another lens, and that gives you new possibilities and a new world to discover.
Yeah. You mentioned the 10mm lens. I've actually been playing around. I've got an old 10 to 18mm lens, which is 10mm full frame, but it was designed for the crop sensor fitting. But interestingly, the adapter, on the Canon, the adapter that allows you to put older lenses on, like the EF lenses, also allows you to put the EFS lenses on as well, which are the crop sensor lenses. So I had this thing sitting around, and because it wouldn't fit on the previous DSLR I had a 6D, and would never fit on that. So I got left behind and never got used for quite some time. But I've actually taken to fitting that now onto the R6, and it is interesting, as you said, making these panoramic wide, ultra wide angle lenses, images without having to do panoramas. And it is interesting, Then you got the post production dealing with the barreling of the lens, because so if you have strong angles or strong verticals on the edges of the frame, then they start to sort of curve around at the top and bottoms, and having to deal with that and dealing with the processing and everything that goes along with that. It is fascinating though, looking at the world with that ultra wide, because it is actually quite close to what you can see with your bifocal two eyes,
Yeah, because I think it's even wider than
I think
what
it's
you see with your eyes. So
yeah.
you can see a new world, and looking for compositions is another thing with 10mm, because everything is so small.
That's right.
So a little wrinkle in the sand, if you go very close to it, can be a big and interesting composition. So it's new discovery. I like to play with it.
Interesting. In terms of what inspires you to be creative, experimentation comes into that, and with experimentation comes the possibility that experiment doesn't work. And so are you using that just as purely a learning? How do you deal with the disappointment when particularly if you've gone somewhere and you've tried something and you're not going to be able to get back to that same spot in the same conditions, and you come back and you go, that didn't quite do what I wanted it to do? How do you deal with those situations?
Always a challenge, I guess. My wise voice is telling me to ignore the moments where I didn't succeed, but I have a drive in me, and that's the sport-minded person, I guess, that want to succeed. So if I go out, I don't need to have 10 or 20 photographs that are good. If there's one, okay, I can be satisfied. I think the most challenge lies in the moments the situation was good, the moment was good, but I didn't do good because I was standing at the wrong place or did make a mistake, because what I tend to do, if it's very beautiful, want to rush. I want to get everything. I want to run around like a headless chicken, we say. And that's something in me. I want to go. And it's also part of my drive, because that's also a good thing, but it can also be a negative thing. That's where you're making mistakes, not having it sharp, didn't look good at the composition, choose to go, not to stick to plan A, but go to plan B or C, and then have regrets, and I have to be at plan A. So I think that are the moments
when actually better at a later moment. I don't know.
And then are the most difficult moments that I have some stomach ache, and I think, I should have done this, I should have done that. And if I miss those moments, I have the most trouble with it. And I'm telling myself, just let it go. There will be new moments, but you remember that moment. And sometimes I miss like a sunset at home. And then my husband is telling me, you're getting new sunsets every day. But I said, no, that sunset.
Yeah, not that
and
one.
If I see photos like on Instagram, maybe a half a year later, I still know that sunset. This, I don't know. And I don't want me to have that feeling, because that's also a negative thing and you can be bothered by it. But I have it. I have to admit.
Yeah. I think every photographer has those negative feelings, but it is, as you said, having that wise head saying, okay, stop thinking about that. Think about something that is more positive. That's the key, is being able to switch off those negative thoughts and switch on towards something that's more positive.
Yeah.
Do you have techniques to try to do that, or do you just kind of struggle with it?
Yeah, it's. I think if you make, if you do photography for a longer time, and you have more photos that give you that good feeling and that feeling of success, you can really, compare it. I have those good photos. I'm okay. I can look back in my archive, and I have those moments. So that gives a little bit more peace, I guess. And being sometimes to locations more often, travel often. So sometimes I've been to a country more times, and I can think to myself, okay, maybe I have another chance. But what also works good to talk about it with other photographers, with good friends, and they also tell you, I don't have it. It's okay. It's normal. So yeah, with talking to each other, you get out of the pressure, being negative about it.
Yeah. The thing is, you can always go and take some more photos and feel better anyway, because doing that in itself just stops you thinking about all the other stuff and concentrates you on creating something new.
There's always a new moment.
That's right. Speaking of those, and speaking of the emotions and the feelings when you're out in the field, what are you concentrating on when is it okay? All about the composition? Is it all about the lights? What are the things that you're going through your mind in the field?
And I think it's first the light, searching for the moment. Where's the light? That's also which lens do you use? That's depending on the light. Where is the light? Is it a zoom lens? Is it a wide angle? So the light, the sky. What are the circumstances? I see people coming to like famous places in while traveling, and they have that photo in mind. That's the photo I want to shoot because I saw that photo on social media, and I think the switch that I made is, of course, sometimes you shoot that moment and you think I have it for my collection, but it's seeing where's the sky good, where's the light good, and it just gives me the next step. How can I fit it in a composition? And sometimes you see good light, but there's no composition in it. And that's back in the days. I would make that photo, and nowadays I'm thinking, yeah, the light is good, the sky is good, but the composition isn't. So I don't take the photo at that moment. And I think that's the process you're getting when you're longer in the field, that you're more precise in what you shoot and what not.
Yeah, I think you get to that point where you know, okay, this is going to work and the composition, I'm in the right place at the right time. And other times you recognize, okay, well, I'm not in the right place. The time is right. The light is beautiful, but it's just not going to work. It's this composition, just nothing. I'm interested in how people think about before, or what people think about before they go into the field. Are you pre-visualizing before you go? Are you planning a lot and using Google Maps and photo pills and all the other apps that are out there and looking at weather forecasts? Or are you more instinctive and saying, okay, well, I'm going to go here, I get what I get, and I'll deal with whatever circumstances arrive and do it more instinctively and more intuitively in the field?
I think I do both. And the both is especially when I'm at home. Then sometimes I go out and just see what will happen. But most of the time I like to plan. I think I'm a control freak. So I like to plan to dive deep into the weather, the weather forecast. I think when you're a landscape photographer, you're also a bit of a weatherman.
Yep.
You have to learn something about the weather. And so it's a big art for me. And then, of course, photo bills, the locations, Google Maps. And especially when I have to travel, that's also my own country. If I have to stand up early and drive for an hour to a location, I want to hire my chances and to know where I'm going and not go blind in it. And I think that photographers they can go and just see what they will get, but I'm not happy with that. I want to have a little bit of control about the situation and hoping to get good circumstances, good composition. So I can go very deep into that moment, and that gives you success for your photography because it gives you higher chances at good weather. I think it can also be a negative side because if you don't have that moment, that photo that you get in mind, it can also be disappointing, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's also a challenge in itself. How far do you go with it? But I also like the planning and I'm interested in the weather. And so
Yeah,
it's two sides of the story, I guess.
and I totally get that, because you do tend to, I know I do anyway, if I'm going to do a local shop and I'm looking at the weather forecast and it's looking pretty grey and miserable, and I'm kind of going, I'm not going to get any light. The horizon's going to be socked in with cloud. It's just not going to do anything sometimes, and I won't go out simply because looking at that weather forecast, I'm kind of going, so sometimes I do use it as an excuse not to go. And
I think if you have a busy schedule, busy again, if you don't have a lot of time,
yeah,
you make choices.
that's right. You do have to make choices. But funnily enough, some of the times when I've said, all right, well, I'm going to get up at 4:00 in the morning tomorrow and I'm going to go out and we'll see what happens. And I haven't looked at the forecast, don't even know what it's going to do. And it's a grey day. And I've still got really interesting images because I've then had to adjust, as opposed to saying, okay, well, I've pre-visualized. Largely that's because I'm going somewhere local and I know the conditions, depending on where I go, will be what they will be, and it's about knowing that locally, and that helps a lot. It's when you're overseas or somewhere like that and you're never going to get back to this place and you've only got that morning or maybe 2 mornings if you're lucky to go, okay, that's when it can be, okay, well, I'm here and this is what it's like. So
yeah, and you have to deal with it. I also tell people that I once have somebody who traveled with me and he had a list on the phone. This is what I want to shoot.
Wow.
I told him, these are photos from photographers who probably lived there or been there hundreds of times. It's not realistic.
20, 30 times in a year,
And that's when I'm on the point you said. Sometimes you are in that moment and you have to deal with that moment and get the best out of it. And that also drives you to shoot new compositions or try out a different edit, or like when there's no light, you get to more moody, gloomy shot can also be good. And I know my first time, story into it, my first time I did go to Iceland with 2 friends, colleagues. We had 1 week of horrible weather with a lot of rain. There was 1 morning with light and that was it. But I still find it so beautiful. And when we came to Diamond Beach, the one side is your Jökulsá, the glacier lake, and one side Diamond Beach. You didn't see a thing at Jökulsá because it was raining, and no view. So I thought, okay, and I had all my hopes up for that place because it seemed magical for me. So I had to let it go. And then switched to Diamond Beach. And there was some ice because you also have to be lucky. There is some ice, not big, just little chunks. But it was raining, it was dark. And in my head, I had a vision of lights through the ice. And so I had to switch a button in my head and think, I have to come up with a new plan. And I did shoot one of my favorite moments at that beach. It was dark, it was gloomy. And I remember sitting at my laptop that evening in the accommodation and almost feeling, a little bit of tears in my eyes because I was so happy with that photos. And I still am. And later on in the years, I shot with the light, but my memories are with that first shot with the gloomy, moody circumstances. And that's the point when I'm telling people, try to let go your visualization of that place. Try to go with an open mind and see what the landscape gives you when traveling. Because at home you can plan and you can go. And of course you can plan a little bit when traveling if you know the place, you know the weather. But there's a limitation to it. You are at that place at that moment. Just learning from that moment, that's the advice I try to give to people from, this is what it is. But try to make the best out of it. Not stay in the car and don't take the photo because it's nothing. Because I first thought a little bit, this is not going to work. But it did work. Just to go out and try and shoot and new visualization of the moment.
I think that's an important piece of advice to give to people, particularly when they are traveling, is to think about, if conditions aren't ideal, you need to start switching up and think about other things that you can do, as opposed to whether it's an epic landscape or small intimate details. You've got to think about doing things. What is your plan B overall? Not the plan B composition, but you kind of go, okay, well, plan A isn't going to work because these conditions aren't conducive to giving me what I want out of there. Sideways rain and 10/10 cloud. You're just not going to get the shot that you envisage with beautiful pinks and blues in the sky. In terms of, you mentioned that success was getting something that you were happy with. How much of your success would you attribute to your ability to communicate those things that you enjoy and those things that you like to take photos of?
Can you
Okay.
ask the question?
Yeah, sure. In terms of your ability to communicate an idea about the photo that you've taken, how much success do you think you've had because of that ability to actually create an image that communicates a feeling or communicates something to the viewer?
I think the biggest part of success is in the feeling I have with that photo when seeing it on my big screen on the computer, and it just clicks. Then I know it's this success. And of course, you hope that viewers will also like the photo. And that's, of course, it's good for your ego.
Yeah.
That happens. But I know that's part I learned in the process. It's algorithm, it's social media, and it like this, how they see it. And they don't get the feeling with this kind of small picture that I did get seeing it on my big screen. And it's also about having the emotions from that moment that the viewer don't have. And of course, I like it when the photo scores gets, I can't ignore it. But the biggest part is for me, having that feeling, seeing the photo on the computer and know it's good. And I can just sit behind the computer in an evening and just look back at photos I'm happy with. I like to create new collections in my Lightroom and
Okay.
just seeing those photos over and over. And that's why I also find it important to edit the photos I did shoot. I try to keep up with everything I take, because if you don't edit it, you don't see it anymore.
Yeah.
And I like to relive that moment and seeing those photos. And of course, if you get back from people telling you, oh, I love your photo and I want to go to the place, and it triggers me to go outside. Of course, it does something. But the most important part for me is being happy myself with the photo and getting that happy feeling. Like I said, was being a kid and made a painting, and I think this is it. This is a good one. And still having it.
Yeah.
That's most important for me.
What do you think landscape photography has taught you about yourself?
I think I realized I'm even more control freak than I thought I was. I think, seeing to get a passion, to go blind for something. Like an example, I don't like running, like in sports running.
Mm-hmm.
I find it a bit dull. But when I have to take a photograph at a beautiful moment, I go for it. So the realization that you can go deeper than you thought you could, that brings you something. And that's always the part I had while doing gymnastics. You can do more than you think. If you practice and go for it, like I hate being in the cold, but I love to go make photographs. When it's cold, when it's winter, the cold lands, cold places. So you can do more than you think. And you can learn more than you think. Because when I started photography, I didn't think I would learn it. I would think it would be too complex, too technical.
No.
And I did learn. So the success feeling I did get out of it, I think that's good realization and lets you grow as a person.
Yeah, fantastic. In terms of what photography is in your life, is it a hobby? Is it a full-time profession? What is photography in your life?
Nowadays, it is a full-time profession. Let me get back a little bit into the history.
Sure.
When I did ended my high school, I did go to a sports education. There you learn how to teach and coach in sports. Teaching, was a part of my profession. I did teach gymnastics until 2.5 years ago. After that education, I did study physiotherapy because I was kind of a person, I didn't know what I want to do. So I just changed a little bit the study, and I did study physiotherapy, and I was a physiotherapist until 2.5 years ago in a rehabilitation setting. And that was always my job. I didn't think I would go being a photographer. I never had that vision. It just grows on me. I started to give workshops in 2015. So that's already 11 years ago. And it was just one workshop now and then for beginners. And that grew into more workshops, landscape photography, evening photography in the city. And it was always next to my job.
Yep.
But it became more and more. So I did on my physiotherapy job from 4 days to 3 days, and from 3 days to 2 days. And that get bigger, and people are asking me, do you also give workshops in, let's say, micro photography or other kinds of photography? And I was saying, no, I want to teach people my passion, my thing.
Yep.
So that's the point when I asked other photographers around me to teach also, to give also workshops. And that's when I started Dutch Photo Academy. That's my company. So we are now with 10 photographers giving workshops in the Netherlands. And a couple of years ago, the photo tours started. And that was the point when it gets bigger. I didn't have enough spare days to fit it into my job. So and when I became to the point, I have to make a decision. I was working 7 days a week because I had 3 jobs eventually. And I had to make a decision because 7 days in a week is not normal anymore. But it's scary to end your normal job and your normal
the regular
steady
income.
Steady income. And also with physiotherapy, it's a medical job. So you have to be working in that job to be allowed to do it.
Yep.
So that's a bigger choice behind it. But I have to do it. And so I'm kind of living my dream now. But I think I have to work harder than ever. Don't let my boss hear that. But having your own company it's always on. And there is no end to it. And I've never been so much behind the computer for all that work, because people think, oh, you're going on holiday. And that's not a holiday. It's a very hard work, and it's a lot of work. But it gives me so much back, and I love what I do at the moment, and I don't have vision for, like, say, 10 years. I'll see what it brings me, and I hope I can continue. But if it ends, it ends. And then I'm happy to look back at what it got me, and then I have to think about something new. But at the moment, I'm happy with the choice. I did quit my job, how scary it was, and it turned out good for the moment.
Yeah. You talked about how scary it was. What was going through your mind? Was it the fear of letting go of the regular steady income? Was it the fear you mentioned having to stay current in physiotherapy, because if you dropped out, then it's very hard to get back in? Were those the key things that sort of said to you, okay, this is why I'm clinging on? What made you say, okay, I'm going to cut it? I'm going to cut ties and go, okay, off it goes. I'm going to do this.
The struggles you mentioned, that was my struggle. And there was a moment it was December 2019. I did a trip to Canada. I couldn't imagine I won a trip to Canada. I was crazy. But in the winter of 2020, we did get the pandemic.
Yep.
So that didn't happen. It kept postponed, but it wasn't clear if we were ever get that trip. And it was 2023, beginning of 23. We suddenly did get that trip, but I had planned my photo tours already in my schedule that year. So I didn't have any free days at my work. I was already 2 weeks behind with hours. I would have to work extra to compensate it. And then, this trip was coming back to me. I need to take 3 weeks off to go to Canada, because I was not saying no to that trip.
Yeah.
Because when do you get that? And I was already on a point that I had to choose. I was thinking, should I do it? Shouldn't I do it? And when that came, that was kind of that's what I needed. Just say, go for it. And so the trip was kind of, the trigger to make my decision and go blind.
Yeah. You mentioned the other thing that I think every person that runs their own business, let alone their own photography business, but the struggle of working 7 days a week, and you're the boss, you're the marketing manager, you're everything, you're the main person doing the creative stuff as well. How do you balance all of that? And how do you mentioned spending more time behind the computer than you ever thought you would. How do you balance things, and how do you stay balanced both outside of what you're doing for work, which is now your photography work, and both your own creative stuff, your personal creative stuff, and stuff outside work, your family life, et cetera, et cetera? How do you balance all of those things?
Yeah, it's difficult. It's still difficult. I think I'm getting better at it at the moment. When I started it, it was searching for balance. What I did do is try to get a 9 to 5 job again.
Yep.
So having a schedule during the day, try to end it at, let's say, 5, 6 in the evening. The best thing I bought is a planning book schedule.
Yeah.
To plan for myself the old school way, just write it down, and per day, what do I need to do? And that gave me peace, because I was thinking, I have to do that, I have to do that, and don't have to forget that. So buying a simple planning book was really
writing things down and making lists makes a big difference.
Yeah. And the difficult part is a lot of my work is like in weekends. Workshops are often in the weekends, so taking days off is a little bit difficult, because I have to take days off during the week, and you don't do that easily.
Yeah.
But I try to balance that during the week. So if I go for lunch with friends during the week, I'm thinking, okay, that's normal. That's my time off. Mm-hmm. And I compensate it by working in the weekends and doing the workshops. But the difficult part is the photo tours, because you're like working 12 days a day, 12 hours a day during the week. That's not full. So I plan a week before the tour, more peace in my schedule, and after it, also a little bit lay down a week, because you need it. You need to rest, and that's also
holidays, basically.
Yeah, sort of. That's also, I think, a part of the physiotherapist I advised people also how to balance your life, and because if you have an injury and you're working too hard or having too much stress, and it's not good for the recovery process.
Yeah.
So it's also about balancing your life. So the advice I gave to the patients, I tried to give a little bit to myself. It's difficult because on the one hand, I want to do, I'm enthusiastic to go.
Yep.
But you have to be careful for yourself. So I think I'm balancing quite well at the moment.
Good.
Yeah. It will always be a struggle.
Yeah.
I guess.
And how do you find working with the other photographers that are part of the business, and that do the other sorts of photography? How do you sort of keep them in line and they keep you in line? How does that relationship work?
Let's go back to the start, and how did I ask them is because my starting point, it has to be a person I like.
Yep.
It has to be kind of a friend. I don't ask random people to do workshops. I first want to know a person. I want to know if it's a person that's easy and that's easy to talk with and can teach. So there's a natural process, or I ask somebody. It's not like I want to know that person and it might give workshops in the future. No, I did met somebody, and the process is going about learning each other, becoming friends. So that makes it a little bit easier, I guess, to get in touch and stay in contact.
Mm-hmm. And what's the main thing that you've learned from running a business? What lessons have you taken away for yourself?
And it's hard work. I did already knew that because in the gymnastics, we organized a big tournament for the kids. And so I did know a little bit about how that would be. It wasn't new for me. Yeah, what I did get out of it. I guess it's a bit of in my photography. You can do more than you thought you could. If you are willing to learn, if you are open to learn, there's more to it. Like you said, you are busy with marketing, you're busy with finance, you're busy with building a website.
Yeah.
And I did those part a little bit in my former jobs, like for gymnastics and my own website. If you're willing to learn, you can dive deeper into things. And then it's also sometimes fun. You wouldn't maybe think you would like it. But if you are really passionate about something, you can do more than you think.
I think
the finance part is still for my husband. I don't like the finance part.
Fair enough. Yeah, I've got to agree. I don't like the finance side of my business either, but it's where the money is.
He's the expert, so it's an advantage for me.
I'm not a fan of the whole tax side of things and having to calculate. You have VAT or something similar. We have GST, which is the goods and services tax. So it's the same sort of thing as VAT, etc. And it's just sitting there working all of that out. And has that been paid? Has this not been paid? And working other things out. Yeah, no, not my favourite part. And my wife doesn't do it for me either. So
too bad. Maybe you can learn her.
Yeah, maybe. Let's talk about your most memorable photography experience. Where was it? Was it about that place that made it so memorable?
I think I have a lot of moments, but if I have to choose one, it's maybe a little obvious one, but it has to be photographing active volcano in Iceland. And I don't know if it's my best photo, but that feeling, seeing that, I get goosebumps when I talk about it again. It's I can't describe it. The first time it was 2021, and you have to walk up a mountain to really see it. So while walking, you didn't see it, and suddenly there's a moment you get the first visual. Oh, it was tears in my eyes, jaw dropping, literally, and goosebumps. And I do talk a lot, but at that moment I was silent because it's that something so much bigger and bigger than you, and seeing the earth being created. It's something you see in movies, something you read in books, you learn it at school. And I didn't expect to have that feeling. Before I did go, I was busy. I was following it on the internet, following the news, knew everything. I thought I need to know about it. But seeing it, I didn't realize I would get that feeling. And I was lucky enough to see it more often. And it didn't change. The feeling was there every time. So seeing the photo of that moment, I think it's because it's the most special moment, most special thing I saw in real life. That's why that's a favorite photo.
Oh, fantastic. What about horror stories? Have you had any experiences which have been less pleasant?
Of course, I did all the obvious. No battery, no SD cards. My camera did see a lot of seawater, but luckily it never was a problem. Broken filters, the normal stuff I get. No. I think one story is one of the first time I did photograph the meteors, the Perseus. I would combine it with the Milky Way, so I want to shoot it. It was in August, I think between 12 and 1 a.m. in the morning, and nobody wanted to join me back then. Everybody was saying it was Saturday evening, you're crazy. I go to bed. But I wanted to go, and I'm a little bit scared in the dark. So I didn't go because that's the thing about photography. There's always a push to go. You do things, what I said, which you normally think you wouldn't do, you do. So I was driving out in a little nature reserve nearby house with a car, and it was a dead end road, off-road. And I was sitting at the end point of the road on a jetty, and I was including myself in the photo so that I was taking a selfie. I thought I add a little element. So when I was sitting, I did see back at the road I came from, and I see a car coming. I saw the lines of the car bumping at the off-road, and I was thinking, why is somebody entering this area at this time of night? And I knew there are some troubles in that area, like drug stealing, that kind of stuff. So that combined in my head, Saturday evening, not a normal time. I had to go. So I rushed and threw my tripod with camera in the car. I didn't even collapse it. It was just in. And I did drive, but I have to pass that car because it was a dead end road. And I thought I let that car pass, so I did park the car a little bit at the side of the road and let the car drive by. And then I was thinking I had to go out. But I was too rushed, and I did miss a wooden pole that was standing next to the road. Yeah, you guessed. My car had some damage because of that pole. But the car was 3 months new.
Oh, dear.
So I had to come home and tell my husband that I breached the car. Nah, okay, we repaired it and everything came good. A couple months later, I did had a workshop for beginners. And I always do a round of who you are and why you're here. And so a guy tells, I want to learn photography, and I saw your Milky Way photo with passage, and I loved it. And I also tried it that evening, but I didn't succeed. And I was already thinking, oh yeah, it might be him. And we did go out to do the practical stuff of the course with cars. We drive to another place, and I see his car, and I was thinking, it was him. It was just a photographer doing the same thing. So I was scared for nothing, broke the car for nothing. Yeah, stupid, but
Fantastic
sometimes.
story. I love it. And I'm glad nobody got hurt. No.
And now I can laugh about it, but back in the days, oh.
Yeah, well, I get where you're coming from, because it can be quite scary out somewhere on your own, and a car comes up a dead end road, and you kind of go. Well, I mean, I go out in the bush sometimes at night for Milky Way shots, or on a beach or whatever, and you'll hear something. Okay, all right. Well, is that a person? Is it an animal? Is it a big animal? Is it a small animal? What sort of animal is it? Yeah. And yeah, it plays tricks on your mind, I think, shooting at night. It really does.
Yeah, you see ghosts with every sound.
Just about. How often do you bump into people you know? You talked about bumping into somebody that's later, but how often does that sort of thing happen, where you bump into somebody that you know out in the field, and you find yourself going, "Oh, hi, how are you going?"
Yeah, that's normally the case, but yeah, exactly what you're saying. It's in your mind. No, you have to be extra alert when being out in the dark. And when you're a kid, they're always telling you, be careful.
That's right.
Be careful when going out. There are strange people. It's good, but not always. Yeah.
That's it. And photographers are some of the strangest people you can meet too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm interested in how people work when they come out of the field. Are you straight into your editing as soon as you get home, load up the images, go through them, catalogue them, work out what you're going to work on and start work? Or do you just back them up and leave them there and I'll get to them later? Where do you fit on that spectrum?
I used to do it directly. That was normally my thing, if I had the time, of course.
Sure.
Because if the sunset is really late in the evening, I go to bed. But more and more, I do keep them for a little moment, not that long. I think the next day, if I have the time, I will start editing, because I'm too curious what I've got. And especially when the moment is good, I'm so excited to see the photos and always doubting myself. Did I do good? Didn't I make any mistakes? I want to see them.
Yep.
But when I do edit a photo, I'm more and more, if it's done, I lay it rest also and get back to it later and check it out, because your vision changes. Sometimes you did go a little bit too crazy, and you have to change that.
You also miss things, dust spots or whatever, I'm always doing that.
Yeah. And when
excited, post it on social media, and then you look at it 3 days later and go, oh, that's horrible.
Yeah, I didn't do that too often.
Yeah.
So that's exactly the reason why I'm taking a little bit more time, because I have had that moment too much.
Yeah.
And regrets that you posted. And like when on travel, I don't like to edit on my laptop. It's a small screen and it's slow. And at a small screen, you miss things, like you said, the sensor dust spots and sharpness things. So I edit at home most of the time.
Yeah, I'm very much the same around editing, particularly on the laptop. It's not my favorite environment, and I don't think when I look at the images that I edit on a laptop, they just don't look the same as the ones that I'm doing on the desktop. The desktop just, it's a calibrated screen, it's the right size and everything. Even though it's supposed to be a calibrated screen, I can put the two screens next to one and I can see differences. You put the same image up, same edit, and you go, yeah, that green isn't the same there, you know.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
It makes it difficult, I think. Where do you see photography's place in society? You talked a little bit about your social media experience and not caring that much, but what about society's view, not only of your photography, but photography in general? What do you think people are thinking about in terms of what photography is?
Photography is important. Let's take the news, for example. We see a lot of news because of photography. The photos of that moments like photos made in a war. That's how we see it, and also video, of course. I can now with AI, it gets a new dimension that people are getting doubts about. Is it real what I see? And I think it's good that also people who are not into photography are getting doubts, because in the beginning, people that are not photographers would believe an AI photo because they are not know the possibilities.
Yeah.
I had recently a photo I didn't even know of. There was discussion if it's AI or was it real. I missed complete the discussion. It was on Facebook. Somebody from the newspaper called me and he wanted to hear my story about it. And I was like, oh, was it a discussion? And yeah, it was a real moment. But I don't find a negative thing that people are questioning, is it real? You can see it as a photographer as a negative, but I see it also as a positive, because you have to be alert on what you see nowadays on news and on social media. And so I appreciate it that somebody called me and let me do my story about it. And that's, yeah, of course, that will be a change in photography. I think in the future, AI will get more and more. But I think photography will always be a thing because that's the real image. And if people want to see a real image, and let's say a wedding, you want to have real photos of your wedding.
AI
wedding photos, I think.
aren't going to cut it, I don't think. Yeah.
No, and if people want to see a real landscape, if they want to travel and see the real thing, photographs are still an important part. And in the other hand, if AI wins, I will still be happy going out and take my photos.
That's right.
Because that's my thing and my passion. And the thing is, I'm not earning my money with selling my photos. That's the advantage that I have. I can understand if that is your living, selling photos, yeah, then it will be a scary time, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're quite right about what you say in terms of it's good that people are questioning. I think, though, putting the burden of proof back onto the photographer also has negative connotations in that it's not that you may, and, you know, I know goes all the way back to when digital photography started. Oh, that's been photoshopped. And I quite happily say, yes, I used to use Photoshop, I now use something else, but that's neither here nor there. I still edit all of my images. I have to, because if I showed you my raw files, you would look at it and go, well, that's a pretty boring looking image because the light's a lot flatter. The contrast that I adjust for isn't there. If I've done a bracketed exposure for whether it's for exposure balance or if it's for focal balance and getting focus all the way through, either or both of those, I'm going to combine those, because if I show you the unedited set of those photos, you can't put that together in your head and make the photo that I see, or the scene that I saw at that time, because the camera's dynamic range isn't the same as your eyes, and the focal distances, it won't work the way your eyes do. And I want to give you an experience similar to you standing there looking at what I saw.
Yeah, exactly that. And to give it something extra, the discussion that was going, that people are doubting if my photo was AI, that were people that didn't know me.
Yeah.
So then for me, the discussion was a little bit more normal. And I hope my followers will know that it's not AI. That's what you said. Yeah, if you're being a photographer, you have to defend yourself. Not being it AI, that's another thing.
Yeah.
You hope that your followers know that what you did, you made the effort and you made the real shot.
Yeah. I think it's also, and I've never had a problem in sort of stating this is a composite. I put a sky, same place, different time, or a foreground that's the same place but a different time with that background, and those sorts of things. If you're open and honest and say, this is what I've done, here's a piece of art that I've created, and whether I've used computer generated materials to help with that, or whether I've used editing techniques within the editing suite that I'm using, that doesn't matter. As long as you're honest about that and say, here's a piece of art that I've created in this way. It's when people are being dishonest and saying, okay, look at this amazing white aurora. You know, I've seen quite a few of those out there.
Yeah.
Number one, they don't happen ever. There is absolutely no record of one of those ever happening.
No.
And two, you're pretending that you stood there. Well, okay, well, you can pat yourself on your back. But I see that no different than cheating in an exam. You're only hurting yourself.
Yeah.
You're not actually.
Yeah, no, that was
you're not
there
actually.
Was recently no, there was recently a discussion on Instagram. Somebody used AI to create, and that's okay.
That's fine.
What you said, be honest about it. Don't give people the idea that it's the real deal.
That's it.
And why should you?
Yeah.
What are you gaining out of it?
That's it. Exactly. I do know that there are accounts that have large followings that are almost all AI, and they're doing it for financial reasons. So I kind of get why you might be dishonest about it if you're making a living out of it. But do you really, you might as well become a phone scammer or something like that, because you're as honest as they are.
Yeah, in the end, it is. Yeah.
What's your favorite thing about being a photographer?
I keep saying it. I think living the beautiful moments, being happy with the photos I took from that moment, and relive the moments while see their photos. Yeah, I think that's the base of the whole thing.
Definitely.
It's as simple as that, I think, for me.
Awesome. And what about the worst thing? What's your least favorite thing about being a photographer?
Yeah, next to the company part, but that's what we already talked about, the taxes and the finances. To be organized with all your stuff and cleaning it afterwards again and again, coming home with all your clothes and salty tripod. And
the thing is, even when it's been in your bag, if you put your camera away in your bag for a week, if you say, okay, I'm not doing any photography for the next week, it all gets put away. You pull it out, you've got to clean it.
Yeah, it is. And sometimes also, like the beach when I go to is a half-hour drive.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I think, I have to drive half an hour back. I just want to stand there. That's the fun part.
That's right.
That's like if you have to paint your house. I don't hate the painting. I hate to get all the stuff to prepare and to clean it up afterwards.
Yeah, break all
that's a bit of the thing.
Bits off and sand it down, and I'm with you.
I like to paint.
Yeah, the preparation's the pain.
Yeah, and that's sometimes also the part of photography. Sometimes the process into it, and afterwards cleaning and time-consuming part.
Absolutely. What's the best and/or worst piece of advice anyone's given you?
Oof, think about it. Yet I think the best advice will still be keep it close to yourself. Do what you love. And that's also an obvious advice.
Sure.
but I would still give that also to other people. Because if you don't do what you really love and you do it for other people, you do it for the likes on social media, it's not your hobby anymore. It's not your thing anymore. Keep it close to where you started. Why did you get the camera? Why did you think it was fun back then? If you are, if you be close to that feeling, it will ever be a hobby and it will ever be fun. The worst fight, I don't remember it exactly, but I remember the moment I was doing sports photography and there was a guy who was thinking he was the best in the field. And I was like a young female girl just getting into photography, see her with the camera. And he was pushing me in a way it scared me. It made me insecure. He was giving me a feeling that I couldn't do it. He was talking me out because he was the best. And I think you have to be strong in that kind of field to think to myself, no, I think I can do it. I have to listen to myself. But if I would listen to him, I would have stopped doing that photography because my camera wasn't good, my technique wasn't good, I didn't have enough experience. So if you sometimes listen to the big guys and you'd be scared and stop doing what you like, that's not what you should do.
Definitely.
But that's sometimes, if you're starting and you're young, it can be difficult to choose your own path.
Agree. I honestly don't understand that mentality of somebody that is going to put a beginner down. Everyone is at a different point in their journey, and there's always going to be somebody that's better than you. There's always going to be somebody that's not as good as or hasn't reached your level yet, is a better way of putting it. And if some people never want to attain a better level, they're not competitive, they're not doing it for a job, they're not passionate enough about it, and they're happy with what they take. That's fine.
And that's also good. That's fine.
That's right. If they like it, it doesn't matter what I think.
Exactly. Yeah, and I really also, when I look back at it, I really don't understand why people are like that.
It makes no sense to me at all, because I think everybody is where they're at, and they're as passionate as they can be about it, then they will reach whatever level they're comfortable with.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, we need to wrap up. I think we're just about to the end of the conversation, but I do need to know, are there any other photographers out there that I need to be talking to?
Oh, that's a bit of a difficult. And I may stick close to home. My photography buddy, Karin de Bruin, also landscape photography.
Okay.
Landscape photographer. Love to do seascapes. I would love to hear her story in your podcast.
Fantastic. I'll definitely look her up. Thank you very much. My last question is one that I've been asking since the beginning, and it's quite a divisive issue. Do you like pineapple on pizza?
I would eat it, but I wouldn't order it because that's another. I don't like pineapple that much. So that's not the pizza part, but I'm not a big pineapple fan.
Yeah.
But for me, I know the Italians will say it's not a...
Yeah, they're out.
But for me, it's if you want to.
Fantastic.
But now I'm hungry. Now I want a pizza.
All right. Well, thank you, Ellen. It has been wonderful getting to know you better. Where can people find your work?
On Instagram, Ellen VD Doel. My website, also Ellen van Doel, but it's EL. How do you call it? Sign, the middle horizontal sign, photo in the Dutch way, FOTO.nl.
All right. Fantastic.
And of course on Facebook. And
thanks very much, Ellen.
Thank you very much for having me. I did like our conversation.
Excellent. Thanks very much. Thanks again for listening to Landscape Photography World. I hope you enjoyed the show, and keep listening because I'll be joined by some great guests in upcoming episodes. You can find my work in this podcast at gruntswinburnphotography.com. I'm also on Vero, Photo, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe because it really helps to get the podcast be seen and heard. I'm Grant Swinburne. Hope to see you out shooting soon.